We make it a point here to take you outside of Washington, outside the Beltway, to take the pulse of the nation. Tonight, someone who's on the front line when it comes to keeping all of us safe and keeping would-be terrorists from sneaking nuclear material into the country. Ronald J. Boyd is the chief of the Los Angeles Port Police. The Port of L.A. spans 43 miles of waterfront. A lot of space for Chief Boyd to protect. Chief, let me ask you this simple question now. We focus so much on this issue, so much attention on this issue right after 9/11. Are we safer now than then?
I'd say we are safer now than we were then, but we've still got a long way to go.
And what do you need the most, especially when it comes to the issue being discussed here in Washington, the idea that somebody with a softball size or a soccer ball sized amount of a highly enriched uranium or plutonium could come into this country and wreak havoc in your city or any other city, large or small, in America? In terms of the screening facilities you have, the technology you have, the training you have, where are you?
Well, it's all the above. As you mentioned, we've got to have better capabilities to detect, better capabilities to respond, and we've been really working hard now to change the training acumen and to have our folks better prepared so that when we recognize these threats, we can mitigate them as soon as possible.
Do you have the resources you need, or has that been an issue if you look around the country, especially in this recession? A lot of states are cutting back, and I don't know the level of federal grants you're still getting after 9/11 and all that. Do you have, from a financial standpoint of getting the equipment and the extra training you need, has that been cut back at all?
Well, I think we've made a tremendous amount of progress, especially since September 11th. The past few years, we've done a number of things that were not traditional for local law enforcement to do, which would include adding additional detection equipment to start to cooperate as operational teams with multiple agencies. All of the stakeholders are now involved at the federal, state, and local level, much better than it was in the past, and I've seen a lot greater level of cooperation. That final piece, though, is to get the training and to have multiple agencies and also the other stakeholders, which include the private sector, all reading from the same playbook and doing the same thing as we look at detection and mitigation.
You have 5 million units come through your port on an annual basis, 7,500 acres, I believe, you need to cover. What is it, sir, that keeps you up at night or wakes you up at night? What's the biggest worry?
Well, first off, doubling those numbers because we treat the entire port complex, which is comprised of Los Angeles and Long Beach, as the threat or the vulnerable asset. It's making sure that we're looking at our brothers over in Long Beach area and making sure that they're consistent with the efforts that we have. And remember, we're the local agency. We're dependent upon the state and the feds to make sure that the big net is out there and we're catching the fine points. So it's making sure, are we truly collaborating in the best fashion? Do we have the best equipment there? Are we all trained on the same sheet of music? We're finally starting to work on getting all state and local law enforcement officers trained in one facility here in Los Angeles. That's going to be very new and cutting edge for us so that we make sure the maritime supply chain is the best it's ever been protected.
But on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you're certain you could stop it, where is your level of certainty if somebody literally, in all those giant containers that come through your ports, somebody had a briefcase size or soccer ball size bit of nuclear material? How confident are you would stop it?
You know, I'd say relatively. I'd be afraid to cross that road and say that it would be a 10 or a 2. I would tell you that by contrast, after 9/11, it was probably closer to the 2. Now, with the changes that we've made and with the networks that have been developed and collaborations with federal, state, and local entities, we're closer to that 8 or 9.
And what don't we know? I assume there are things that have happened in your port, things that you have stopped or things you know your colleagues have stopped that we might not know about.
There are. There's a number of things, but those serve as benchmarks for us to actually gauge where we are as far as preparation, and they give us something to look at. You know, we've shifted from a very conventional type thinking to an asymmetric thinking, which means that we're continually having to go back and assess what we're doing and whether or not it's effective and whether or not those tactics now have been captured by a would-be attacker and they've moved on to something new.
Chief Boyd, we appreciate your help tonight, and more importantly, we appreciate the service of yourself and all those who work under you, sir.
My pleasure.
Take care. Thank you.